Once upon a time, in a small farming village between rolling green hills and wide open fields, there lived a young man named Eli. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and built for the land, just like his father before him. He had good soil, good weather, and good hands. What he didn't have was the will to use any of it. While his neighbors woke before sunrise and worked until their backs ached, Eli had a habit of sleeping in. While Claire next door was already on her second row of corn by mid-morning, Eli was under the old oak tree outside his porch, whittling a stick and telling himself the day was still young. He always had a reason. Too dry, too wet, too late to start now, better to wait and do it right tomorrow. Tomorrow was Eli's favorite word. He wore it like a comfortable old coat. His neighbor Harold had tried to talk sense into him more than once. "Eli, your father left you some of the richest soil in this county. What are you doing with it?" And Eli would smile, nod, and say he'd get on it real soon. Harold would shake his head and walk away. After a while, the whole village stopped being angry with Eli. They just whispered. And Eli would hear the whispers, feel the sting of them, and tell himself, tomorrow he would change. But tomorrow always became today, and today he did nothing again. At the end of harvest season, when every other farmer was counting their yields with grateful hearts, Eli wandered through the village market with empty pockets and a heavy spirit. He watched Claire load her wagon with corn and sweet potatoes. He watched young Thomas settle his accounts with a wide smile. Everyone was reaping what they had sown. Eli had nothing, not because the land had failed him, but because he had never truly shown up for it. He sat down on a bench at the edge of the market, staring at his boots, when a soft voice beside him said, "Looks like a heavy load you're carrying, and your hands are empty." He looked up. Sitting beside him was Grandma Ruth, the oldest woman in the village. Her hair was white as winter frost, her hands worn with years of honest work, and her eyes calm and deep. She was not known for what she owned, but for what she knew. "I keep telling myself I'm going to do better," Eli said quietly. "I keep planning and intending, and I don't know, the season just got away from me again." Grandma Ruth nodded. "It always does," she said, "for the man who lets it." She folded her hands in her lap. "Can I tell you a story, Eli?" He looked at her tired and hollow. "Sure," he said, "I've got time." A small smile crossed her lips. "That," she said, "is exactly what we need to talk about." "There was once a well," she began, her voice slow and steady. "A magical well, sitting in the middle of a wide open field. Every single morning, at the very first light of dawn, it filled to the top with the clearest, most life-giving water anyone had ever seen, enough to grow a full season's worth of crops. It was a gift, and it was there every morning without fail. But here was the thing about that well. When the sun reached its peak, whatever water hadn't been drawn was gone, drained back into the earth until the next dawn." Eli leaned forward without realizing it. 3 farmers lived near that well. The first farmer woke up every morning before sunrise, rain or shine, tired or rested, and was there at the well with his buckets the moment the water appeared. Not because every day felt exciting, but because he understood that the water would not wait for him. So he showed up for it every single day. The second farmer was a good man, kind heart, good intentions. Every night before bed he'd say, "Tomorrow I'll be up early. Tomorrow I'll be at that well before anyone else." And he meant it every time. But then morning would come, the bed would be warm, and he'd think just a little longer. By the time he finally made his way to the well, the water was gone. He'd stand there with empty buckets, genuinely heartbroken, then go home and make the same promise to himself all over again. Eli was very still. The third farmer didn't believe the well was special at all, said it was just a story people told. He spent his days digging in the wrong places, chasing shortcuts, convinced the real opportunity was somewhere else. He never found it, and every morning the well filled and drained right beside his door. Grandma Ruth let the silence settle before she spoke again. Steady Thomas, the first farmer, built the most abundant farm in the county, not because he was the strongest or the smartest, but because he showed up every single morning. The second farmer lived a half-life. Some mornings he made it, most mornings he didn't. Never poor enough to truly suffer, but never disciplined enough to truly thrive. He died with more regrets than years to count. And the third man found nothing, grew bitter, and blamed everything but the truth. She turned and looked at Eli directly. The well is time, Eli. Every morning you wake up, time fills to the top, a whole fresh day of it. It doesn't care who you are or what you did yesterday. It fills the same for every person in this village. She paused. The only question is what you do with it before the sun goes down. Eli stared at the ground. His throat felt tight. "I'm the second farmer," he said. "You are," she said gently, "but that means you still hear the well. You still feel that pull every morning telling you to get up and go. The third man stopped hearing it long ago. You haven't." She held his gaze. "Which means there is still time. But Eli, time does not wait. It has never waited. Every evening the well drains, and whatever you didn't draw from it is simply gone. Not punishing you, just moving on, the way seasons move on." "But this season is already over," he said quietly. "Yes, and you can't get it back." She stood and looked at him one last time. "The well fills again tomorrow morning. It always does. The only thing it asks is that when it does, you are standing there with your buckets ready." She walked away and left him there as the sky turned orange and the village grew quiet. Eli sat with her words for a long time. Then he stood up, walked home, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, did not sit under the oak tree. He went to the barn. He grabbed his tools, and in the last light of that evening, he walked out to his field and cleared one row. Just one. His hands blistered and his back ached. It was the smallest beginning a man could make. But it was a beginning. He was up before sunrise the next morning, and the morning after that. He didn't erase years of lost seasons overnight, but slowly, the way a field comes back after a long winter, Eli came back to himself, row by row, dawn by dawn, bucket by bucket. And years later, when the young people of the village made excuses and talked about doing things tomorrow, it was Eli they came to, sitting not under the oak tree in idleness, but beside it after a long day's honest work. And he would tell them about the well, about the 3 farmers, about an old woman who gave him the only gift that ever truly mattered. Not money, not land, not talent, just the truth about time. The well fills every morning. The only question is, will you be there?